Hello, 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 hello. Welcome. We have the verdict that's due to come in about uh 10-11 minutes. So I decided I was gonna come on ahead of time. Welcome to the platform. Let me do my fair use. Let me get the fair use thing out because I will be streaming this. So fair use copyright disclaimer under section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit educational or professional use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So now that I've got that, I want to thank you all for joining me. Like I said, we are about 9 minutes away from them announcing the verdict. Okay, let me greet everyone right quick. For one, let me take this down. Let me take this down. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome. Oh, thank you, Puppet Master, for that super chat. Okay, I'm keeping. I got an eye on it down here. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Tiffany. Oh, I got to go back and do. Wait a minute. This is for Puppet Master. Wait, we got another one. Cha-ching. That's cute. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for your continuous support. Welcome, everybody, whether you're watching right now. I'll let you know I got 3 platforms going at the same time. I got I got the Facebook page, Champagne and Conversation. Welcome. I got both of the YouTube channels going, JLC87 Productions and JLC87 Productions 2. So wherever you are from, thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing. Please hit that thumbs up, or depending on how this goes, thumbs down. Like I said, we are about 8 minutes out. So now here's what I want to know from the people that's in the chats. How do y'all think this is gonna go? How do y'all think this verdict is gonna go? Me, I got an agent. I got anxiety running all because I had spoke on this yesterday, and like I said, if we would have still been sitting here this time next week, I would have been like, okay, they on some humbug. It's kind of leaning in the favor because what the charges are second-degree murder, third-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter. He can get found guilty. Let me take that down. Hey, babe, welcome. He can get found guilty on all 3 or one or let's say they skip the second-degree murder and they go third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. They convict him on that. Okay, them 2 he's looking at about 35 years with them 2. Let's say, hi, welcome everybody to come in. Let's say they say, okay, not guilty on second-degree murder, not guilty on third-degree murder, guilty on second-degree manslaughter. That's up to 10 years. And then, they got that point system that comes into play, and where, past, prior bad acts, unlawful acts or something like that. With him not having an official criminal record, they can go anywhere. He can do anything from it. That second-degree manslaughter just leaves it too much to be. I got too much going on. Just leaves I mean, y'all, I'm trying to get everything together. Just leads to or they can say not guilty on all three. It's a chance, and then the whole city can go up in flames. Um, oh, I'm online, baby. Wave. You on the computer. Y'all have to forgive me. I got a 7. Close the door. Thank you. I said close. Don't be slamming on those. But as I was saying, forgive that. They ordered all the employees of the courthouse to go home prior to them announcing this verdict. They let them go home. So that's letting you know, okay, I got 4 minutes from where I'm saying, but you know these things never start. But at 4:30, I'm gonna bring in the live stream. Okay, let me see what this say. I believe he will be found guilty. He should be found guilty on all 3 charges. He should receive the maximum amount of time on all charges. Then they should throw the book at him. Yeah, because they can add time to it. The prosecutors got the add time, and depending on how this goes, let's say he gets convicted on all 3 charges, then it's a hearing that they're gonna have where the state gonna be like, okay, we don't want this thing to see daylight none short of 40 years. See, because if he get found guilty on all of this, he looking at, if he get maximum time, 75 years. So, we don't know how this gonna go. Yeah, they 4 minutes away. Like from when they said they were going to announce the verdict. I have it up. I have the live stream up here. So at about 4:30, I'm gonna go ahead and flip the screen, and let's just hope the good people of Minnesota didn't fall for the banana and tailpipe. Because like I said, that damn defense attorney got up there and was basically telling them, who you gonna believe, us or y'all lying eyes? And everybody is watching this. They got governors, mayors, the world is watching this, because this, and I'm trying to figure out why it's a historic verdict. I don't understand why, because he's not the first police officer to be brought to trial for killing someone, unless it's the first time a white police officer. Hey, BBK baby, it's the first time that a white police officer been tried for killing a black person. Because if I don't know if y'all remember the case a few years back, this black police officer killed this Caucasian woman. They found him guilty and they gave him 12 years. So we will see in about 2 minutes. Because like I said, in about 2 minutes, whether they got it on there, I'm just going to flip the screen to the live screen, and then we're going to see. Okay, let me see what she said. What they said? I still got time. If he found guilty on all charges and the maximum amount of time is given on all charges, a president could be set. Oh, okay, that's what it is. Okay, thank you, Tiffany. Yeah, him. That's, yeah. And I'm like, okay. Wait a minute. Okay, they're waiting for the judge to get in there. That's what the hold up is. And the only camera that was allowed, the only somebody that they allowed a camera in, that was allowed to have cameras in the courtroom, was Court TV. So no matter where you're watching this from, if you're watching CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, anybody, they're getting their feed, they camera feed from Court TV. Okay, let me adjust my sound. I want to make sure the sound good for y'all. Okay, I got to remember to unmute it because I got to mute it on that back screen. But this should be interesting. I hope they get it right. I really do. I hope they get it right, because if not, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good in Minnesota tonight. It's not. It's not. And then, you know, they got to deal with that other one where that female cop shot that young black dude, and she's claiming she thought she was reaching for her taser, which I got a whole other soliloquy that I can say about that, because like I said, they already thinking women don't belong in those type jobs, and then for you to say you mistook your gun, your firearm, for a taser, that's setting us back. That's setting women back. I mean, I'm just saying. But welcome everybody just not coming in. I'm just waiting for them to flip it. It's 4:30. So what I'm getting ready to do is bring in the feed from Court TV. Again, as at the top.
Case, there's a police officer who is in the defendant
at the top. Even more, like I said, I'm claiming I'm enacting the fair use. Yeah, I got the disclaimer running across. I read it at the beginning of this. Okay, I got the sound up. Okay, we are going to. I'm not sure it's the right way or let me see. I'm not sure if it's the right way or the wrong way at this point. I think it's going down regardless. It depends on how this go. Because I was talking with my family a couple of days ago. I was like, now, regardless of which way it go, it's going to be some rioting and protesters. But depending on how it go, the hue of the protest is going to be different. If he gets found not guilty, then you know we going to be out there, black, brown, people of color going to be out there, and they going to be acting a fool. If he gets found guilty, then I wouldn't be surprised to see some of our Caucasian brothers and sisters out there, having something that puts you in the mind of January 6th might go on, but either way, we will find out in a few minutes what's going on, because they interviewing and they still talking. They said 4:30, they never get out there because they know everybody waiting for this. I'm just glad they came back with something before next week, because my thought had always been, let me see what BBK said, they may enact martial law behind this if it's a not guilty verdict. Oh, because they already, I pray not, but because they already, business owners done prepared, done boarded up, they got stuff already corded off, blocked off. So this is going to be interesting to see. Okay, let me give you. Okay, I'm finna show y'all this shot that they got. Wait a minute, let me go. Okay, wait a minute.
Of course, whereas the defense didn't have a burden of proof at all, but they did go ahead and bring a use of force expert to try to convince the jury otherwise. And just a quick update, we are being told that everyone is inside the courtroom for the verdict except the judge and the jury. So that's who we are waiting on right now for the verdict to be read.
Chanley, thank you. And right now I want to show all of our viewers watching around the world, this is a live look outside of the Cup Food store. That store that's gotten so much attention and notoriety because of the tragic event that happened outside of the courtroom, the event that is the issue of this criminal case, the death of George Floyd back on May 25th, 2020. You can see so many people gathering, awaiting the announcement of the verdict. Everyone is in place for this verdict. And as we await the court's announcement, I want to continue that conversation. We were just talking about Barry Broad, the defense expert witness on use of force, and something just despicable that happened his home was vandalized. So this man.
Okay, I'm keeping it like that. So they waiting on the judge and the jury to get there. Oh, I meant.
Just terrible. Michael and Ted, your reactions?
Yeah, I just want to point out that I believe that was his former home.
Former home.
Yes,
Thank you,
someone else
Michael.
currently lives in the house. He used to live there in San Jose, California. It's interesting when the police there found out about it. They again distanced themselves from everything he said. They said his views were not the views of the San Jose Police Department. Again, trying to, I imagine, keep the peace, or that's exactly how they feel, that they did not condone some of the things that he said were proper use of force. This type of action, it's, and we've seen this in a couple of different places. I believe what you saw there was pig's blood. I think a pig head was left on the property as well. There's really no words to condone or even speak about that kind of behavior. It's just unwarranted, uncalled for. People are entitled to their opinions. We have to keep clear heads. We have to keep open hearts, and we have to keep the peace most of all.
It's so true, Michael. Very well said. And we have to have respect of the judicial system, the judicial branch of government, like Judge Peter Cahill was saying yesterday when he was.
See, when they start talking that, have respect for
Maxine Waters' remarks with respect to this case and with respect to what ought to happen if the jury doesn't reach a particular result. And he was saying that this is a co-equal branch of government with the legislative branch, and it is appalling to him that elected officials are speaking out and encouraging any fighting to occur, and what ultimately may result in pressure on the jury. We don't want the jurors to feel any pressure. We want them to decide the case based on the evidence, based on the facts.
Well, they weren't supposed to be watching the news anyway when she made that comment.
And thank you very much, Michael, for pointing out that correction, that it was Barry Broad's former home. But in any case, no one should deserve that, and that is just appalling. It's really, really sad. And for those of you who are just now joining our coverage, I just want to remind you that we are on a verdict. Watch for the reading now. The verdict is in. We have our cameras in position. This is a live look inside of the courtroom.
Welcome.
And what I want to do is I want to, while we're still waiting, everyone is in the courtroom, but obviously there's still a bit of a delay. We were told approximately 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, but as we know, we're past that point, and the time isn't quite right
Hey,
yet.
Indigo, welcome everybody coming in. Welcome.
Let me play what I found to be one of the most compelling moments in this case.
Right now, I'm a little anxious, but other than that, I'm good.
It came from a very young lady who was a testifying witness for the state. Let's watch.
When I look at George Floyd, I look at my dad, I look at my brothers, I look at my cousins, my uncles, because they are all Black. I have a Black father, I have a Black brother, I have Black friends. And I look at that, and I look at how that could have been one of them. It's been nice. I stayed up apologizing and apologizing to George Floyd for not doing more and not physically interacting and not saving his life. But it's like, it's not what I should have done. It's what he should have done. He should have.
That's the answer. Thank you.
What a moment that came from Darnella Frazier, 17 years old at the time of the incident, had turned 18 at the time that she gave the testimony for the state in this case. And she's also the young lady responsible for filming what became the viral cell phone video of George Floyd's death.
She's the one that, okay.
Outside of the Cup Food store in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
She's
where George
the one.
Floyd died on that street where those people are standing back on May 25th, 2020. We're not even a year out from the incident date, and this case has been tried to the point of verdict. We also just got word that in Minneapolis, the public school system has made an announcement that because the verdict has been reached, they have halted all of the after-school activities. Everything has been canceled for the children The children will be picked up from school and will not be staying after school for any activities whatsoever because, of course, there are enormous safety concerns in this case. We know that that has been a major concern with Operation Safety Net, monitoring all of the activities, protesting, everything that's been going on really since this incident occurred. Things haven't ever completely halted. I want to welcome into the conversation now Court TV lead anchor Vinnie Politan, who's joining our Gavel to Gavel coverage and the verdict announcement coverage. Vinnie, what does this amount of time of deliberations say to you, please?
Well, let's talk about this entire case. Speed, 330 days since George Floyd died. 330 days. And here we are waiting for a verdict that will come in any moment now. You talk about the amount of time, quick amount of time to get him charged, quick time to trial. Then the trial takes place and this jury out for 10 and a half hours on a case that was 3 weeks. It's fast, it's rapid. And I go back to what we all go back to is our first introduction to George Floyd, which unfortunately was the video of his death. And to me, the most powerful piece of evidence any prosecutor has ever had in their hands. And I think that is indicative of where we are now. I think it's difficult to overcome. If I am Derek Chauvin, if I am Eric Nelson, right now, I'm not that optimistic. I think the road for the defense was to make this jury really think about the nuance of the law, the subtleties of all the experts. But if you can come to this conclusion in 10 and a half hours and 12 people can all agree, 12 people all agreeing, to me, that is not good news for the defense here. But I have been surprised many
Usually
times.
that's not good news for the defense.
Very true, Vinnie, very true. Michael, did it surprise you at all that we haven't seen any questions that this jury has asked of the court since they were sent out for deliberations?
No question about it. I thought, we got word that there was some movement, something was happening. And I said, it must be a question. And we were expecting a question. That was what we all sort of were waiting for. And it turned out to be a verdict. I was very surprised because as Vinnie said, there was enough there that if this was going to be something that these jurors were wrangling over, I mean, think about it. We have not only the 9 minutes and 29 seconds of the tape that everyone's seen, but there was introduced maybe 7-8 hours of video into this case that the jury has access to. And this is this is something different too, Julie, that I'd love for you to talk about. The fact that this jury was given the video and a player to deliberate with. Usually when you want to see video, you would ask the court to say, hey, we want to see the body cam video of Officer King. And then you get brought into the courtroom and you watch it together. This way they could sort of deal with the video in a very sort of specific way. By giving them the video, they had the opportunity to look at as much as they want. So if they were debating something, looking over something, had questions about something, the finer points in the law that Vinnie mentioned, some of these things that were, I thought, were going to create some reasonable doubt, there would have been questions. They would have taken more time. But without that, without the questions, again, it just seems to point in that direction that it's a good result for the prosecution.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that, Michael, because that is historic. That is historic that these jurors were allowed to take that laptop and then watch that video evidence at their leisure as many times as they want, stopping, starting, pausing, whatever the case may be. And also even just the broadcasting of this trial, the historic nature of that. Julia, I want you to speak to that, please. We know this is history in Minnesota.
It absolutely is. Not just Minnesota. I think it's something that the nation is looking at historically, just the way everyone is pausing right now.
That's why I'm surprised that
messages from friends who are in all walks of life and they're at work.
I'm surprised because I don't want to yell. I'm surprised at the speed of this whole thing. I was just talking to my mom about this morning. I was like, now, May 25th will be the 1 year anniversary of this murder happening. And we've got pre-trial, a jury that been said, opening arguments.
People want to know because they had such an emotional connection.
The state that presented their case, the defense presented theirs, closing arguments for the state, closing arguments for the defense, rebuttal from the state,
TV broadcast and
now a verdict in under a year.
This is history too. that this has been allowed. I understand prior to this case, we haven't seen this in the state of Minnesota. That this is historic for that reason as well, that we're getting to watch the first trial broadcast live in Minnesota history. So no doubt we're going to see more in the state after this. We understand that the Noor case that we've talked a lot about pertaining to especially the third-degree murder charge, which was dismissed by the court, then added back on by the court pursuant to Noor. We know that was verdict coverage only, not an entire trial. So really, really historic for a multitude of reasons. We're about to witness even more history unfolding.
Okay, so that's why it was historic.
And
okay.
just, it could be a short amount of time. It could be any second we get that notice. We understand, for those just joining our coverage, that all of the parties are present in the courtroom. The judge will be the one who will do the reading of the verdict. The judge is not there in the courtroom yet, I am being told, but he is the one who will read the verdict, and we know he is at the government center. He has arrived. One thing that has concerned me about this case is knowing that the names of the jurors will become public at some point in time. And why it's concerned me is because we want impartiality. We want these jurors to judge the case only on the facts and on the evidence, not because they may be fearful of what could happen to
I got a whole nother
them,
thing to say
homes,
about. I can talk about
if
that.
they don't reach a verdict.
Oh, hey, Allie, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody joining across our platforms. If you're catching the replay, thank you. Welcome
for their safety. So
we
I want
just
to get
said
your thoughts
we're
about
doing
that.
the whole world is sitting here waiting
to make the names public at some point.
For this verdict.
It's still the United States of America, and ultimately that information will come
Don't
out.
Get you slipping, though.
There have been other cases where
Police
the names have been withheld for some time.
Stop.
But at some point they're going to come out, and that's the one thing about our system of justice is the transparency of it all. No secret courts. The ordinary citizens come down. Ultimately, we'll find out their names, but I trust that.
Now y'all come out with a vegan version of
the way
Supreme
this has been
pizza
handled by the folks in Hennepin County, the precautions, the thoughtfulness that has gone into all this, the transparency of allowing cameras inside so people could see the evidence and hear the arguments. I think all of that will aid to make this a better process and better.
Okay, Court TV, really, this what we doing? We ain't missing nothing. They hadn't came out. Who is this? They hadn't came out with a verdict yet. This is just Court TV.
At the end of the day.
There we go.
Right. And that's, I think, what needs to be preached, Vinny. Exactly that. Respect for the criminal justice
It's coming
system,
back up.
Respect for the decorum that courtrooms in America have day in and day out, and the process that's in place. The rules are in place, and why certain things come into evidence, other things are excluded, because we can't just try a case however we feel like. It's not, we're a nation of laws, not a nation of men. And the law is what rules. We're governed by the rule of law. It's not mob rule that should prevail. It is the rule of law that should prevail. And we are waiting this historic announcement. As we do that, I want to play another clip. We were just showing some testimony from Darnella Frazier, someone I found to be one of the most compelling witnesses in this case, the young lady who filmed the viral cell phone video. Let's take a look at some more of her testimony together now.
Welcome, I'm just saying. Wait a minute.
But as time went on and more people showed up,
it's not changing DNA. Wow.
As we understood more of what was happening.
I just want to know.
What we seen.
Right.
Is how we reacted. Right. Like you said, the video speaks for itself.
I'm just getting word that the jury is in the building. The jury is in the Hennepin County Government Center. So as we're learning these bits of information, we are relating them to you as soon as we have them. And as soon as the court is ready to read the verdict by this jury, we're going to take you in there live. You won't miss a moment of it. Michael, I want to talk to you about some of these witnesses, some of the younger witnesses who gave testimony. Wow. What really stood out to you watching these young ladies, and how life-changing is this for them to give testimony in such an important case? I feel like their lives are never going to be the same.
Well, Julie, their lives were never going to be the same regardless after viewing what they saw. That became clear in their testimony.
Hell, my life wasn't the same, and I just
I think it was important.
Hell
for
no,
this
their life
jury
ain't gonna be the same.
to-
Mine wasn't the
I've
same
always
after, and I
maintained
viewed
that
it
there were
via
aspects
video.
of the
So can you
police
imagine being there on the
relationship
scene
with
and
the
watch that?
community, and particularly
Like the
communities of
9-year-old
color,
girl,
that needed to
it
be
came out
understood in
that
order to
it was a
fully
9-year-old girl
the
with,
power
that was
this
saying
event
that
had,
somebody
and the
need to call the
reason why
police
the world
on the
reacted the way it
police.
did. And it was spurred on by the issues that these
You know,
police
so yeah, them
departments
folks
across the
are
country
scarred
have
for
had
life.
historically with communities of color. And I thought in the testimony of those young people, I thought there was no better way for this jury to get that understanding, the effect that this had. That young lady, Darnella, who got on the stand talking about, I mean, crystallizing for America and the world what the feelings are of just about every person of color who saw that video. That person, the reason why these incidents are so, hit so close to home for people of color is because that's how we see it. That could be my son, that could be my friend, my cousin, my uncle, my aunt. And it's that important. And I think that understanding the gravity of this case from the very beginning was a stroke of genius by the prosecution to put those witnesses on. And God
Wow,
bless them for taking the
really?
stand. And I truly hope, because I said this before,
All
that
right,
they're
BBK,
getting
I'm gonna
some
be
sort
over
of
there.
help. I know there's counseling available through the prosecutor's office because it's not often available in communities of color. It's not something that's looked upon in communities of color as something that we need, but we do. I hope they're all getting some sort of counseling to talk through what they dealt with.
I'm in complete agreement with you, Michael. Thank you so
Go
much for
get
that.
mommy.
And what we're looking at is a live
baby.
picture
I'm
of
live. Go
what's
get
happening
mommy.
right outside of the Hennepin County Government Center. Let's just pause and listen in for a moment
Okay, go
to what these folks
get
are
mommy.
saying.
Anybody want 7 yo?
And you need to think about what you're going to do when this verdict drops. What do you want for your community, regardless of the verdict? I don't need a Hennepin County Government Center to let me know if I matter or not. You don't need a Hennepin County Government Center to let you know if you matter or not. Yeah. This verdict is going to determine what we see for policing, government, and politics going forward for this city. And if George don't get it, if George don't get it, shut it down. Shut it down. If George don't get it, 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 shut it down. You know, I'll leave it with this. Justice is living in a world where George Floyd was never murdered.
It's the same thing to me.
Justice is living in a world where
I mean, she went right past her mama. But God bless them. They so precious. Okay, I'm finna make this full screen. I'm gonna be in the background.
With their counterparts, with their cohorts. The work is going to need to continue going forward regardless of the verdict. We can celebrate for a day, but we need to continue this work going forward. We can celebrate for a day, but we need to continue this work going forward. We can celebrate for a day, but we need to continue this work going forward. So I want you to recognize why you're out here. Know why you're out here. And really dig deep into your heart why you're going to stay here. And why we're going to rally regardless of the verdict. We're going to continue justice regardless of the verdict. Because justice is living in the world where John Ray Wright was never murdered. That's right. Justice is living in the world where an excuse, hope I reach for my baby, I have my gun, is not a reality. Justice is living in the world where Minnesota is now being the nation based on the charities for education, employment, and law enforcement. And we came out here for George Floyd. What's his name? George Floyd. 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 George Floyd.
Shoe counterfeit is the devil, y'all.
Okay, and the video froze just a moment ago, but chanting his name, say his name, George Floyd. And that was how the state began their closing arguments yesterday, saying his name was George Perry Floyd Jr. That was how the state started its closing arguments for the jury. A reminder, a very powerful reminder, what this case is about. At the end of the day, it is about the man who died on May 25th, 2020. And the question for the jury to decide is one of responsibility, whether Derek Chauvin was ultimately the person or one of the persons responsible for George Floyd's death. And before we started watching this video of those gathered around the Hennepin County Government Center, we were talking about the very young bystander witnesses who watched that horrific incident unfolding. We talked about Darnella Frazier. There was also a 9-year-old who was called to give testimony, and we do have a clip of her testimony. I want to play it for you now.
Tell us what happened after you saw the ambulance.
Yes, the ambulance had to push him off of him.
And how did that happen? Did they simply come in an ambulance and then go up to push him off, or what happened?
They asked him nicely to get off of him.
And when they asked him nicely to get off of him, what did he do?
He still stayed on him.
And then what happened after he still stayed on him? What did the ambulance people do?
They just had to put him off, get off.
Oh, and you know, hearing that young child establish that fact, it was very important for the prosecution to get that fact. One, for them to show that it was unrelenting, the force that was applied to George Floyd's body. And getting it from a 9-year-old, it made me think, well, why wasn't this elicited perhaps from an older witness? Did this 9-year-old child have to give that testimony? And the answer is yes. There was a reason the prosecutors put on her testimony, and that is because of what they hope to do if they're able to obtain a conviction, and that is to have this go to an aggravating factor that the court could consider at the time of sentencing. So if there's a conviction and there is a minor child present with a crime of violence such as this one, then the state can ask the court for an upward departure of the guidelines. Now, what I want to do is play a clip from Special Prosecutor Steve Slisher. Let's watch.
His name was George Perry Floyd Jr., and he was born on October 14, 1973, in Fayetteville, North Carolina. His parents, George Floyd Sr. and Larcinia Jones Floyd, Sissy, the matriarch. Now, you met George Floyd's brother, Phalonis, and you heard all about Sissy Floyd. She was George Floyd's mom. She was the mom of the house. She was the mom of the neighborhood. And you heard about the special bond that she and George Floyd shared during his life. You heard about their relationship, how he would always take time and special attention to be with his mother, how he would still cuddle with her in the fetal position.
Hello and welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. I have taken over the anchor chair from Julie Grant, but she remains with us here in studio. We'll continue to talk to her and other anchors and our reporters about this historic decision that we're awaiting right now. Again, we do have a verdict in the case of Minnesota versus Derek Chauvin. Our understanding at the moment is that everyone is in place. The jury is in the courthouse at the moment. The judge is there. Not sure if they're in the courtroom just yet, but we do know that Eric Nelson, Derek Chauvin are all in the courtroom as well. And in just a few minutes, we are expecting them to read this historic verdict. I want to bring in all of our gang. Of course, we have Julie Grant, who remains in studio with us. Our lead anchor, Vinnie Politan, is here as well. And out in Minneapolis, we have Chanley Painter and Julia Janae. They've been live in Minneapolis from day one. Chanley, let me go to you very quickly. You know, we just looked outside and we saw some chanting. We saw a veritable bouquet of humanity out there protesting, still making the point that even after the verdict, no matter what it is, there's still work to be done. Give me a sense of what you've seen. I know you've spent a lot of time roaming around the city and taking in what's going on. Give me a sense of how the city is anticipating or the feeling towards this verdict that's coming in just a few minutes.
The city of Minneapolis has been preparing for months for this trial, for the verdict, even formulating Operation Safety Net, which has different phases of level of security. For example, they've invested millions of dollars in infrastructure. You can see the huge chain link fences, the concrete barriers surrounding the fortress that is the courthouse where this verdict will come down. And that space that we're watching right now is one of those First Amendment spaces they have designated for those who want to protest and to gather during this time. They have that opportunity to do so. And of course, all around downtown, we have the military presence, and the magnitude of which is still really unreal to see firsthand. And it's nothing like we've really ever seen. But this is something that the city expected. And this crowd is growing by the minute, Michael. As people are learning that there is a verdict in this historic case, more and more are coming downtown to be a part of it. We expect this to grow and to continue into the evening. We learned that school was being let out early today, that they are going to have in-home sessions the rest of the week. Preparations, there's the Cup Foods, George Floyd Square has a presence as well. We're expecting all of the safety precautions to be in place and hoping and praying that it's all peaceful and everyone stays safe.
Oh, absolutely. No question. Julia, Janae, let me check in with you very quickly. I know you've had an opportunity to do some interviews with folks on the street. We played quite a few of them here on my show, I know, and throughout the day here at Court TV. Just from talking to people out there, and I'm sure you've talked to people who didn't want to be interviewed, people who were interviewed on camera, and it seemed like from things that I've been able to discern from those interviews, people are hopeful for justice. Now, what do you think they're thinking justice is in this case?
It depends on who you talk to, for sure. But those who are really concerned about how bad things have been for Minneapolis after the unrest of the summer of 2020, all the way up until this moment, and concerned about how people will react to the verdict, whatever it is, you can tell that they are not only concerned for their own safety, their family safety, their homes, their communities, because some people on the ground actually said they were getting out of town for this verdict as things got closer to a possible day that this jury would come back with their decision, just because there's this uncertainty of not knowing. But there were others who did say that despite the fact that there are expected protests, that there will be demonstrations and the possibility of riots, depending on what the outcome is, they said that this was important for healing for their community.
I'm still here. I'm watching with y'all.
That has happened. If everyone can watch this and it be the
I know, right? He should have just said 5 o'clock.
Just unrest for many, many, many months for this area. They believe that it was important for this trial to be held here. Now, when we talk to those community activists,
pretty much
pushing for racial equality, for them, the justice in this case is only a conviction, and really it's a conviction of murder and not that a lower charge of manslaughter in this case. But most are looking for at least some kind of a conviction to just show that if an African-American man who is unarmed is killed by police, that there will be consequences for that. So a lot is riding on this case, despite the fact of what happens inside this courtroom or what happened in the courtroom. There are people who have tacked on other cases that they felt didn't get handled the way that they felt it should have. They're looking at this one to remedy that.
No question about it. And Vinnie Politan, I want to get you involved now. We talked about justice, what it may look like, and Julia talked about a couple of different groups and what justice might look like to them. I want you to put on your criminal defense hat now. I know that's difficult for you, but I want you to do that for us. And I want you to take a look and think if perhaps there was a fair trial for Derek Chauvin here. I've contended from the beginning. I was surprised that this jury wasn't sequestered. We knew from the beginning the case was going to take about 3 weeks long, not a tremendously long time to sequester a jury. And with all that was going on and all that did actually go on, the comments by public officials, the huge settlement that happened. We had an issue where someone went home and they taped the program and saw some part of coverage of the trial, talked to their mother about the trial. There was some speculation if somebody had been looking for a book deal. I mean, it went on and on. And I'm wondering if you think that Derek Chauvin was able to get a fair trial in his case.
Well, you asked me to put on a criminal defense hat. Doesn't really fit my head, but here's what's. I mean, there are a lot.
Did George
issues
Floyd get
surrounding
a fair
lot of them,
trial?
but a lot of them are in all high-profile cases. But we've never quite seen one with this mixture. And it comes back to what I was originally saying, which is the speed of all of this. The wounds are still raw. Everything is raw, and the trial is taking place. Usually when we have a trial like this, it's been a year. It's been 2 years. And while it still hurts, it's not quite at the same stage that this one is at. So that inflames everything. Sequestering a jury, yes, you can protect them, and I've seen it in other cases. They've done it in other cases. They did it in the Zimmerman case. So I think that is going to be the one area where the defense is going to say there was just too much happening around here. But you're going to need actual evidence that it impacted everything. How do you prove that? You've got to have some evidence that a juror heard something, saw something, and what they heard or saw actually made them.
Okay. They're going. Oh, here now. Okay, y'all. I'm going to turn it up.
Cut you off. Actually, we're done anyway. I'm going to take everyone into court. It looks like the judge is on the bench. It is time, I believe, for the reading of the verdict.
Please.
All right, for the jury.
Here we go, y'all.
All right, please be seated. Members of the jury, I understand you have a verdict. Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, count 1. Court file number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty.
That's your ass.
20th day of April, 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror 4-person, juror number.
That's that ass.
Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury 4-person, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk.
Yes!
Find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April, 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury 4-person 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 19, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 89, is this your?
That's your ass, Mr.
Yes.
Juror number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Are these your verdicts? So say you one, so say you all.
Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota for not only jury service, but heavy-duty jury service. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to follow the deputy back into your usual room, and I will join you in a few minutes to answer your questions and to advise you further. So all rise for the jury. All right, be seated. With the guilty verdicts returned, we're going to have Blakely, you may file a written argument as to Blakely factors within 1 week. The court will issue findings on the Blakely factors, the factual findings, 1 week after that. We'll order a PSI immediately returnable in 4 weeks. And we will also have a briefing on, after you get the PSI, 6 weeks from now, and then 8 weeks from now, we will have sentencing. We'll get you the exact dates in a scheduling order. Is there a motion on behalf of the state?
Your Honor, they would move to have the court revoke the defendant's bail and remand him into custody pending sentencing.
Bail is revoked, bond is discharged, and the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Hennepin County Sheriff. Anything further? All right. Thank you.
Something you didn't let go.
We're adjourned.
These are humble case. I can send you.
330 some odd days after the death of George Floyd, after 10 hours and 30 minutes or so of deliberations, the jury delivers their verdict through the judge, guilty on all counts. Count 1, second degree unintentional murder, guilty. Third degree depraved mind murder, guilty. And manslaughter, culpable negligence, guilty. We thank them for their service and called it heavy duty jury service, which certainly it was. Just an incredible moment there in the court, an historic verdict. You heard the cheering from outside, folks happy clearly with that verdict. That's what they had been hoping for. Hopefully that city and our country, and in fact the world, can move forward now, begin to heal. There are still a number of other issues, as we heard from the crowd earlier. We cannot stop the work. The work will not stop. But as for right now, in terms of what this country was looking for, in terms of healing, this verdict may have been it. All right, let me bring in our incredible crew here. We have at Court TV.
Okay, I'm gonna turn them down. I'm still gonna keep it up here.
Here in studio and out in Minneapolis, we have Julia Janae and Channing Pinto, our legal correspondents, and if you like to get your reaction to the verdict. It's not unexpected.
Y'all give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Here in the studios.
Well, ultimately, it comes down to what are the facts and what is the law. And when we heard what the instruction was and we watched this case play out inside the courtroom, I think it was easy for this jury to put things together. And they did it quickly. It's unanimous, as everyone knows. They all agreed to this. The top charge, second-degree murder for a police officer. Think about what this means for Minnesota. I mean, it took a long time for a police officer to ever be convicted. Now you've got one convicted of second-degree murder in less than a year. I hope the takeaway from all of this is that each case gets judged on its own facts. And this jury of ordinary citizens came in and sat there in judgment of Derek Chauvin and what he did. And they saw exactly what he did. There was no question, because there was a video of everything. And they determined that is murder.
Yeah, the video was just too much to overcome, but hard work done by this jury. 7 women, 5 men, 6 white, 4 black, 2 of mixed race, going in and doing a job ranging in ages from in mid-20s all the way up to 60. Julie Grant, let me bring you into the conversation. Love to get your feelings about the verdict.
Michael, thank you. First of all, I hope that this verdict gives the Floyd family some sense of comfort and peace. I know that it is no substitute for George Floyd's life. I know that his life was invaluable, and no amount of money or no decision by a jury could ever bring him back or replace the void that's in their hearts. But I would hope that they feel some sense of justice and some sense of comfort after this, that they can sort of close this chapter. For those who are victimized in homicide cases, I think a lot of it is about closure. So I hope today they can close a very upsetting chapter of their lives and try to move forward and try to live their best lives under the circumstances. We know their lives have been changed forever after his death, but I hope that I hope and pray that this gives them some peace and comfort. And I have to hand it to all of the lawyers involved in this case. The prosecutors, they tried a really comprehensive case. They really went above and beyond. I could just see in watching them how many hours of preparatory work were put in to gathering all of the witness testimony and evidence and making sure it was all presented. I have to say, I felt like no matter what the outcome was going to be, you could definitely hand it to this team of prosecutors, that they used every resource available to them and gave the jury their all to consider. And for Eric Nelson, I certainly think he tried a very respectable case. He had an
okay, y'all. I think
to climb from the outside.
I pulled it together enough to come back on screen.
Very civil to one another, so they all deserve to be commended, as does the
This is for
running an excellent trial.
This is for Emmett Till. This is for them four little girls in Birmingham. This is for that 14-year-old that got electrocuted back in 44 for a crime he did not commit that took them 70 years to exonerate him. This is for anybody that's been put to death, then the evidence showed that they were innocent. This is for that justice for George Floyd. Exactly. Because I was scared, y'all. I'm sorry, with the way things have been going in this country. I was scared that this man was gonna walk up out of here. And whew.
That you guys have done out there. Let me start with you, Jenny. Let's get your reaction to the
Whew.
Yeah, what a historic moment, something that community right there at George Floyd's
And
has been waiting for. This is a site that we visited many times. We've spoken to the community members. We've spoken to the owners of the cup food store there.
that
Is next.
said, okay, I can add a little comedy back to it. Where I get to that. I saw this. Okay, Uncle Ruckus, tell him again, what is he?
For that community and for really everyone that's been affected by what happened to George Floyd. And there's still a lot more healing to go. But this is something that I know we can hear.
Tell him again, Uncle Ruckus. Oh my God.
I can hear horns honking. I can hear helicopters. It is echoing throughout the city. And I know that we've been in touch with.
I don't know why.
We've interviewed many members of the family of George Floyd, and this is something that they've all told us that they've been praying for in their prayers. Michael,
I honestly, that is guilty. And you know when Uncle Ruckus said white, when they say guilty, it's guilty. I had the I wonder if they're gonna put him on suicide watch.
Michael, watching all of the people there in George Floyd Square, where we have
y'all, this has been a this been
even when they were just getting there.
This been a long.
This has been a spot where people have really only considered a pilgrimage to a source when they want to pay respect.
This been a long time coming. This. But now here's the thing.
They have an outline where his body was laid down during that arrest, and now
all is left for them to throw the book at him. Right. That's what we waiting on. That's the next thing. They got a week. So I guess in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we gonna be reconvene for a sentence to see what the sentence is. But I was taking notes. That second degree murder conviction carries 40 years. The third degree murder conviction.
Yeah, we saw him handcuffed and taken into
Wait a minute.
custody. His bail, he had been out on bail. The bail was revoked by the court. He was taken into custody.
Yeah, he had come to find out he had been out on bail. I didn't even know that since when. How sway?
Guilty on all counts. That is count one.
For the for the third degree murder is 25 years. For the second degree manslaughter, he gets up to 10 years. So he's looking at, what did I say, 75 years?
Murder, manslaughter. They are guilty on all counts. And Shelly, let me go to you. The judge talked about the timeline now. So what's going to happen going forward? No Blakely hearing today. There'll be some motion works.
Yeah, he back in jail.
Take us through what the timeline is now for sentencing and beyond.
Okay, wait a minute. Just do I want to know.
As the judge mentioned, there will be a pre-sentencing investigation for Derek Chauvin. We know he has zero criminal history here, and we know that there's certain severity levels for the conviction of the crime. Because he was convicted on all 3 counts, the lower 2 will drop out. So he will be sentenced for the top count of second-degree
murder.
unintentional murder. And the judge saying that PSI report that he will assess is returnable within 4 weeks, and he plans for sentencing 8 weeks from today.
Also in 2 months.
Revoked, and Derek Chauvin was remanded into custody at the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. And we also know that there is a possibility of a Blakely hearing. He mentioned that Blakely factors hearing, those aggravating factors, the prosecution filed notice of back in August that they would seek an upward departure of the standard sentencing guidelines for the charges against Derek Chauvin if he is convicted. Now that he's been convicted, they'll have this Blakely hearing, the judge said, in about a week. And that's when the prosecution will ask the judge and prove, they will try beyond a reasonable doubt, those aggravating factors, that this was a crime committed in front of children, that it involved more than one co-defendant, if you will, that it had a particularly vulnerable victim of George Floyd. If they prove one of those factors, then Derek Chauvin would face an upward departure. The judge would have discretion to go outside of that 12.5 standard sentence, all the way up to, if he wanted to 40 years for that. Now, again, that hearing will take place. He will likely decide whether or not he's going to grant or that the state met the burden of those factors, but he won't give that final sentence until 8 weeks from today, Michael.
All right, Shelly, thank you for that. Let me bring back in our anchors, Julie Grant and Vinny Politan. And Vinny, you know, there's this hopefully will be one step towards healing for that city, for this country, perhaps anyone around the world who felt affected by this case. And I know there are mayors and governors across the country who are breathing a sigh of relief right now. We hope that
I know that's right, because they were worried about they were worried about their property
even after nightfall, because we know after nightfall is when things have generally gotten out of hand, if they have gotten out of hand. But one of the things that I've heard regarding this incident is that true healing doesn't begin until some sort of apology is given. Now, we've heard apologies from a lot of people in this case. We've heard apologies from the state of Minnesota, from the governor, from the mayor. We heard it from the police, but we haven't heard it from Derek Chauvin. Do you think?
And you ain't gonna hear it from him because he don't think he did nothing wrong.
Process.
He don't.
There in Minnesota and across the country.
Well, it's twofold.
I'm on
not
Facebook
acting from Derek Chauvin. He's pending his appeal. Every criminal defendant who gets convicted and has issues on appeal is not going to say a word. Nothing that can be used against them in a court of law. So he's not going to talk. You talk about healing. The ongoing issue here, and you take a step back at the big picture, is there's going to be another officer-involved death. Okay? There's going to be police officers.
So now we just have to see what them other 3
going to be suspects who are killed by police officers. And it's not going away. It's the nature of the business. So I unfortunately, while this is a sense of justice for this case, I come back to each case gets judged on its own facts. And I think that's the lesson. If that lesson can be learned through all of this,
well, y'all,
then I think we will make progress. But the problem is people on either extreme side lump them all together and they see them all the same. And they're not all the same. Every incident, every case is judged by the particular facts of that case. And unfortunately, when someone is shot by police, many people see that one way. And some people will always be pro-police, and some people will always be anti-police.
Okay, y'all. I
Regardless
want
of
to
the
thank
facts.
y'all
And
for
I wish that was the lesson that could be learned from all of this.
coming
Is that the
over
facts
here
will play
with
out
me
in
and
front of a
witnessing
jury
this
or in front of a
verdict,
grand
this
jury,
just verdict
and
after
justice will be
300,
served. That's where
and it
system
only
works.
took them
But,
300, like they said,
until we reach
330
that day,
days.
I don't know.
Y'all,
if we
I'm
have that
finna
100%
log off
proven.
here.
But for this case, for this family,
I will
and
be
for
back
all the
in a
investment
couple
that
of
everyone
hours
has
because there's a
in justice for
420
George Floyd,
versus
I think they can
tonight
exhale
going
right
down
now,
at 8 o'clock.
okay?
You're gonna have
They
Red
haven't
Man
been
versus
breathing. They've been holding
Method
their
Man.
breath.
So we will
They
have
can
our
exhale
420
now,
versus
because that sense of
party
justice
over
has
here
been met by this case
at 8
in that
o'clock.
courtroom in Hennepin County.
Again,
One
thank
small
y'all
step
for
forward to
joining.
Grant, and Vinny makes a great point. There'll be another.
If you're catching this during the replay, thank you for the replay. Thank you all for the thumbs up, for the thumbs down. I want to thank everybody for the super chats. I thank y'all for continuing to support me all this time. Like I said, I'm not no big time celebrity. I'm just somebody that had a little extra time to run their mouth about stuff. But yeah, we will be back over here for the 420 versus Red Man, Method Man. Gonna be a good one. I will talk to y'all later. Y'all take care.